work like hell.
My view is I don't even like the phrase work-life balance.
When I have a shower, I think I work. When I'm in the toilet, I think. When I running, I think. We never stop working.
Seriously, not cool. If hard work were truly the secret sauce to wealth, we would be living in a world where half the population would be lounging on cruise ships instead of watching YouTube videos about working hard. According to the Credit Suisse Global Wealth Report 2023, only 0.1% of the world's population, which amounts to about 8.6 million people, earn over $1 million a year. And, for sure, I am convinced that these individuals are not the only hardworking knights in the quest for success. If that's really the case, then what's the deal with this whole hard work for success culture? It seems it's not exactly the magic recipe for making it to the top, is it? Plus, let's not forget about those who seem to just glide to success with what looks like little effort. You know, the ones who strike gold on their first try or somehow land a dream job without breaking a sweat. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Maybe there's more to success than just grinding day in and day out. So what's with our sudden work obsession? This whole overworking thing only kicked off a few centuries back. Believe it or not, work used to be just about scraping together the next meal. If your belly was full, the rest of your day was all about kicking back. Kings would even boast about their light workload, but fast forward a bit and the plot thickens. Suddenly, a 9-5 job doesn't cut it. Our phones and emails have us hooked, work trailing us everywhere. There was this famous prediction in 1930, get this, that our grandkids would be working a mere 15 hours a week. They thought we'd be so swamped with free time it would be the next big crisis. Overworking hits hardest for those who run their own show. Ever caught yourself thinking, a break to play games? Nah, I could be working. Or dinner time? Nope, should be working. Even sleep, that's prime working time. Already working? I could be doing it harder. This hits close to home for me. My dad had a 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. job, and then he'd be out in the garden working away until late at night, like 11 p.m. He was always hard at work, and it never crossed his mind that maybe too much work could be a bad thing, or that it could be fruitless labor that wouldn't necessarily make you rich. Back in the 1990s, when the revolution against the communist regime swept through our country, my dad had saved enough money to buy a brand new car. However, just 2 years later, he ended up spending that same amount of money on a jacket he accidentally tore on a fence. He learned the hard way about inflation. I started out just like my dad, working hard, saving pennies, and hoping that somehow all this effort would magically lead to explosive wealth. Now, after over 20 years of grinding and having accumulated some income-generating properties, I've realized that work alone is pointless if other fundamental conditions aren't met. In fact, I believe that hard work hasn't really made anyone rich, just like I've never seen a workhorse strike it rich. I can say with certainty that hard work wasn't the key factor in accumulating these sources of income. What mattered more was my willingness to take some risks and the chance encounters with people who have shaped who I am today. But let's be real, even if you've landed the dream job, grinding away for 15 hours a day is a one-way ticket to crazy town. You'd have to be an extraterrestrial, an Elon Musk type, to keep that up. The moment you're stuck in an endless work loop without a pause button, you start to wither inside. I firmly believe to maintain a healthy mind, there needs to be a bold line between work and personal life. Once that line gets blurry, good luck figuring out which is which. There was a time when I got swept up by the tidal wave of motivational speakers. You know, the ones preaching the gospel of all grind all the time. Put in the hours, they said. Hustle nonstop. And I won't lie, those pep talks felt electrifying. But let's just hit the brakes for a second. Remember, one of the biggest regrets people have at the end of the road is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Yep, you heard right. I'm here giving laziness a shout out. If you're chasing dreams but always racing against the clock, maybe it's not about hustling harder, maybe it's about smarter time management. More grind doesn't always hit the mark. It's a well-trodden fact that crazy long hours just crank up stress levels and, get this, actually dial down productivity. Let's take a trip back to antiquity. In ancient Greece, work was seen as a burden. Their word for labor, ponos, shares its roots with the Latin poena, meaning suffering. In Hebrew culture too, work was tied to toil, symbolizing the grueling task of wringing sustenance from the challenging earth. And guess what? Most ancient myths saw success in life as a favor from the gods, not as the result of hard labor. The stories from Greek myths, they're all about heroics, smarts, and getting on the good side of the gods. Take the story of King Midas, for instance. He got the touch to turn stuff into gold. And in Roman myths, wealth and success were often tied to being virtuous and favored by the gods. Like the story of Rome's founders, Romulus and Remus, it's more about fate and divine intervention, not about grinding away at work. The tales from Nordic mythology, like those about Thor and Odin, are all about prophecies, battles, and mingling with all sorts of mythical creatures. These stories weren't really singing praises of hard graft. They were more about bravery, strength, and destiny. But how did we get to our modern era with all its technology and information and still see hard work as the key to success? The Industrial Revolution. That was a real game changer in how we view work. Tough manual labor and long hours in factories became the norm. How else could you rake in big profits and run a successful factory if not by selling this idea that hard, devoted work makes you a success story? Take Ford's factories, for example. They might have offered double the usual wages back then, but the workers were just seen as cogs in the machine, expected to do their repetitive tasks with great care, and even their lives outside of work were monitored. Especially in the West, the Protestant work ethic really shaped how people see work and success. Calvinism and other Protestant movements spread the idea that hard work and business success are signs of salvation and divine favor. But there was a mix-up. Not many could tell the difference between hard work in business and just plain hard labor. Lots of folks thought they'd be saved just because they were slugging away for the same paycheck, month after month, year after year. In capitalist societies, the belief that anyone can make it big through hard work and determination has become a cornerstone. This mindset has been fueled by the success stories of self-made men, forming the bedrock of the American dream. Sure, we've got these big-shot examples of folks who made fortunes on their own, like Andrew Carnegie or John D. Rockefeller. But let's be real, these stories are more like one-offs than a regular occurrence. Andrew Carnegie worked hard, sure, but the guy was also a savvy investor, something today's hard work mantra conveniently forgets. He didn't just become rich through sheer grind, he had a bunch of other cards in his favor, including the socioeconomic scene in America at the time. He saved up, invested smartly, and maybe even a bit opportunistically. However, in the grand scheme of things across the US population, these self-made millionaires were just a drop in the bucket. Most folks were grinding away in tough, often precarious conditions with meager pay, especially in factories, farms, and mines. Hard work alone never really guaranteed financial success. It was more like hitting the right investment, being in the right place at the right time, almost like winning a lottery. Hard work is necessary, sure, but it's not the golden ticket to financial success. It's more like a game of chance, where timing, location, opportunities, and choices play a much bigger role. And what better way to wrap up this video than by letting one of the world's wealthiest and most eccentric individuals have the final word on this matter.
We all know you don't get successful just by having a good idea or working hard. You get successful by being lucky too.